guys, Web24 here from MondayMorningMTG.com, and today I'm bringing you one of my favorite decks that was actually one of the first ones I built, and I've been promising for a while. This is the Junk deck that I originally threw together. So we're going to go in order around the circle here, kind of like the magic color pie, where I'm going to start off with lands, then I'm going to go to the creatures, other spells, planeswalkers and tokens, and the sideboard. So let me get these out of the way first of all. And in the event you don't know, Junk deck is pretty much all of the white, green, and black cards, or a combination of all of those, which with the help of Return to Ravnica and Gatecrash, where it is the combination of all of those put together in a deck that would look like it wouldn't work, but actually is amazing. So let me go ahead and separate these by type. Okay, so starting off, I have 4 Sunpetal Groves, which I have 3 M13, 1 M12, and that doesn't really matter because they're all the same card. Playset of Temple Garden as well, because green and white is the major, what you're going to need. You're mostly going to need green, then after that you're going to need white, and black is also an important factor in this. Then we have 2 Woodland Cemeteries from Innistrad, 2 Overgrown Tomes from Return to Ravnica, 2 Isolated Chapels from Innistrad, 1 Godless Shrine from Gatecrash, 2 Gavony Townships from Innistrad as well, which I'm sure the other ones you know, the Isolated Chapel, the Woodland Cemetery, and Sunpetal Grove comes into play tapped unless you control a swamp or forest for Woodland Cemetery, plains or swamp for Isolated Chapel, Sunpetal Grove is the plains or forest. The other ones are just the shocklands. Gavony Township is the add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, and then you can pay 2 colorless, 1 green, 1 white to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So this is pretty useful and helpful towards the end of the game when you have all this mana and you don't really have anything you're drawing. So I'm going to put those away there for a second. And then, last but not least, 1 plains, 1 swamp, and 1 forest. Mainly because I don't have any more Overgrown Tomes, Isolated Chapels, Godless Shrines, or Woodland Cemeteries that I could fill in the slot. Now, I know this may seem a bit strange with, I believe I counted 18 lands. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Sorry, 20 lands. 20 lands is typically what you don't necessarily want. You want more around like 22 or 23. But this deck actually works really well with just 20. And I will hopefully be able to demonstrate that later. Let me just move the land away, and we'll go on to the creatures aspect of the deck. So, I'm just going to drop land off to the side there. Let me lay out the creatures. Alright, so there are 8 different creatures that are comprised in the deck. This isn't counting tokens or anything else like that, but we'll get to tokens in a little bit. Now, starting out, we have 4th Slitherheads, which is either black or green for 1/1 with Scavenge for 0. So, it dies, you can put a 1/1 counter on any creature you want. +1/+1 counter on any creature you want. And that's always good to have as your opening play, but you don't have to have it. Next is Strangleroot Geist. For a double green, you have a haste Undying creature that's 2/1. Undying, of course, is when it dies, it comes back with a +1/+1 counter. If it has a +1/+1 counter already on it when it dies, then you obviously lose it. So you don't really want to add Gavony Township in the mix with this, but I mean, when you get to a 3/2 instead of a 2/1 with it, it doesn't hurt to pump it a little bit more. But got 4 of those, because these are also pretty important to just start throwing at your opponent. Next, we have 2 Loxodon Smiters, 1 white, 1 green, 1 colorless, for a 4/4 that can't be countered, and if a spell or ability causes it to be discarded, you put it on the battlefield instead of putting it in the graveyard. I mean, pretty nice, a 4/4 for 3 mana. Next up, we have Silverblade Paladin, the Buy a Box foil version from Avacyn Restored, and the just regular Avacyn Restored one for double white and 1 colorless, for 2/2 that you can soul bond with another creature. When this and another creature soul bound together, they both get double strike. Pretty important. It's good to mix with Loxodon Smiter and a couple of other creatures we have coming along. Alright, so next up we have playset of Vampire Nighthawk. And I actually have an original Zendikar one, but double black and a colorless for a Flying Death Touch lifelink 2/3. So it can kill any creature it hits, as long as the creature doesn't have first strike. It gains you the life, and it's also flying. So these are pretty bad for your opponent. Let's see here. I think I put those in the wrong order. Next up we have Desecration Demon. Double black and 2 colorless for a 6/6 with flying, and at the beginning of each combat, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If they do, you can tap Desecration Demon and put a +1/+1 counter on it. So that's always pretty nice to throw in against your opponent, especially with double strike too. And then we have Wolfir Silverheart. Double green and 3 for a 4/4 with Soul Bond. And the Soul Bond ability here is that when it's paired with another creature, each creature gets +4/+4. So the typical combination is Silverblade Paladin and one of these. So Silverblade Paladin becomes a 6/6 with double strike. This becomes an 8/8 with double strike. So, I mean, right there, that's 12 plus 16. Your opponent's probably going to die if they can't block those two. And last but not least, for non-token creatures, we have Thragtusk, everyone's favorite card. Well, I don't know if it is anymore. 1 green, 4 colorless for 5/3. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. When it leaves the battlefield, put a 3/3 green beast creature token on the battlefield. So there you have all of those. So it's a nice mix of creatures there. And Vampire Nighthawk, Silverblade Paladin, and Wolfir Silverheart are very good together. Strangler Geist is a nice opener as well. Okay. Put those aside. Next we have the spells. No instants in the main deck, unfortunately, but still have some good stuff there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start out with Rancor. 1 green to enchant target creature and gets +2/+0 and has trample. Put 2 of these on a Nighthawk. They're not going to be doing so great. Put 2 of these on a Slitherhead. It's a 5/1 with trample, so they're going to have a tough time with that. So this is always a nice thing to have. Opening hand, maybe with a Slitherhead, Strangler Geist, whatever. But when this goes into the graveyard from the battlefield, you can return it to your hand. So Rancor is always a great card. So I got a playset in there. Playset of Farseek with 7 Shocklands in here. You're bound to be able to get a couple of Farseeks to pull them out. Part of the ramp, you need to get all of your mana. Turn 2, you want to get 3 mana total. Turn 4, hopefully, or turn 3, hopefully you have 4 or 5. So Farseek is very useful, especially for the Shocklands, because you can just put them in tapped and you don't have to pay any mana or anything. And you just have extra land that turn for just 2 mana, a green and a colorless. Next I have Lingering Souls. If you're going to be running white-black, this is a great card to have, of course. 1 white, 2 colorless, to put 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens flying on the battlefield. Flashback is 1 colorless and a black, so if you have to discard something because you don't have enough mana to pay for something, put this in the graveyard first. But still, being able to, in 1 turn, if you have 5 mana, being able to put 4 spirits with flying onto the battlefield is really great. And you can also put Rancor on them to make them that much more deadly to your opponent. Alright, the last regular spell before we hit the artifact. Over there we have Revenge of the Hunted. Double green and 4 colorless. 2 hard cast, but I prefer the miracle cost of 1 green, so This is the first card you draw. Then you can play it immediately for just 1 green. Until end of turn, target creature gets +6/+6, gains trample, and all creatures able to block it this turn do so. So this is always nice to have a couple of these in there. Last but not least, to fix the 20 mana problem, we have 2 Chromatic Lanterns, which, I mean, if you're running 3 colors, you probably want Chromatic Lanterns. It's 3 colorless for lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So essentially, all of your lands, including Gavony Township, become white, black, or green. I mean, you could also do blue and red, but that's not in this deck, so what's the point? And with this, you can also tap to add any mana color to your mana pool that you want, or 1 mana of any color you want. So this is always nice. So technically, you have 22 mana sources, but as long as you have one of these and a few lands, you can play anything in your deck. Okay, that is all of the regular spells. Then I'm going to move on to Planeswalkers and Tokens, and after that, we will go to Sideboard. Alright. We have Sorin Lord of Innistrad, 2 of them. 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. 3 loyalty cost. +1 is add a 1/1 black vampire creature token with lifelink onto the battlefield. Very useful. -2, which is what I use for the most part. You get an emblem with creatures you control, get +1/+0. In case you don't know what the emblem looks like, that is his emblem. Nothing can remove an emblem right now. At the time of this, nothing can remove an emblem. Nothing can touch it. It's not permanent. It's just there. It just affects the game. You can't do anything to it. No Oblivion Ring. Nothing. So you get an emblem with creatures you control get +1/+0 for -2 off his loyalty. I like to open with that because that way, if someone wants to get rid of Sorin, my creatures already have a little bit of pumped up ability. And then as -6, destroy up to 3 target creatures and or other planeswalkers. Return each card put into a graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. So this is pretty nice. And 2 of them, of course, is very useful for whatever, because chances are you'll run across one of them during the game, or 0 or 1, but you probably won't wind up with both. Moving on to the token side of this, I have just 6 spirit tokens. Sometimes I need 8, but 6 is a good thing, because with all of these, plus the sideboard and a divider and a deck box, I just use one of these deck boxes. With a simple divider like that, you can fit all the tokens, the sideboard, and the deck that I'm showing you now, so it's easy. Just take one deck box and a die to your next FNM or something with this. Alright, then we have 1 vampire token with a 1/1 lifelink. I rarely use this ability on Sorin, but if someone can't touch Sorin, then to pump him back up before sacking him the next turn by adding another emblem, I use this. And plus, I mean, if you need more lifelink creatures is the way to go. Next is the 3/3 Beast, comes from Thragtusk. Nothing much to say about that. Then I have an XX Green Ooze, which we'll get to that card in the sideboard. I mean, I don't really use the sideboard much, especially for that, so not very important. Plus the emblem there, which I just use dice to put counters on the emblem. I have more emblems to use, but not too important with that. Alright, last but not least is the sideboard before we get to playing. I'm just going to go ahead and just spread everything out here so I can easily get to it. Okay. 2 fogs. Honestly, I could probably use something else other than, or I could use 2 more, but that's all I have. Prevent all damage, or that's all I have right now on the sideboard. Prevent all damage, or all combat damage that would be dealt this turn for 1 green. Not bad. It's great if you can't get any creatures out, your opponent's running total control or something with their creatures. Next up is 2 naturalizes, 1 green, 1 colorless, to destroy target artifact or enchantment. I mean, typical something to have in your green deck. 4 Oblivion Ring, if you're running white, it's great removal. exile another target non-land permanent, and when this leaves the battlefield, the permanent that was exiled comes back. So it's just 1 white, 2 colorless, basic removal. 2 more Loxodon Spiders because there's only 2 in the main board. Probably going to get rid of these, replace them with Fog. But already went over that, can't be countered, etc. 2 Murders, double black, 1 colorless, destroy target creature. Just some removal in the event you need to turn it a little bit more into control, less on large creatures and beating people over the head with them. Then I have 1 Killing Wave is like a reset switch, get rid of all the creatures, or bring your opponent that much lower. And in the event you are wondering, this is the Avacyn Game Day Top 8 promo. Full art, alternate art foil, very nice. Then we have Slime Molding, which is what creates the ooze tokens. 1 green and X to put an XX green ooze creature token on the battlefield. Not bad. So, there you have the entire deck. I'm going to get to the actual playing it in just a little bit. Alright, now that I'm done shuffling the deck, after I had already completely separated it, we are ready to play a game of Magic with it, just to show you how it's going to work. I'm going to go ahead and use this as the opponent's life total. I'm just going to put that right down there. You'll be able to see it just fine. I'm going to deal off top 7. Typically with this deck you want to go first, although that's typically what anyone wants to do with any deck. So we have life total down there, the deck right there, graveyard will go here. Opening hand. We have 4 lands, a sorcery, and 2 creatures. It may take you a little while to get started, but this is really not that bad. And we'll get to that in just 1 second. So, shall we begin? So you're going to go first. You don't have anything to play that's 1 cost, so we're just going to go ahead and put the Overgrown Tome in tapped. Next turn, draw. You have a Thragtusk. Can't do anything with that yet. But we're still going ahead with everything. So we're going to put down Sunpetal Grove. Still can't do anything. Next turn, Isolated Chapel. Very nice. So, I was going to play Swamp next. I'm going to go ahead and play the Isolated Chapel. We now have the 2 black mana we need for the Nighthawk. First thing down will be the Nighthawk for the 2 black and colorless. And I'm going to bother tapping them at this just to show. We still have them at 20 life. Next turn, draw, you have Stormlord of Innistrad. Not going to play him just yet. Instead, I think opening with a Plains, using Plains and the Sunpetal Grove, or even just Isolated Chapel, and then that for a Silverblade Paladin, Soulbond Vampire Nighthawk. Vampire Nighthawk now has double strike, so you're going to be dealing 4 damage to them. You're also going to gain 4 life. So they're down to 16 now. Next turn. Untap, upkeep, draw. Strangleroot Geist, very nice. So we're going to go ahead, put down the Swamp. Actually, you know what? Probably putting this up here and the life up there would be better. Oh, I can't see the life myself. I'm going to leave life down here. Sorry about that. But we have all these different mana types. I like having them separated. So, we have all of that. We have Strangleroot Geist, Thragtusk, which I'd say why not put down the Thragtusk. So we're going to play the Thragtusk this time. Then we're going to get to some of this other stuff next turn. So, these both have double strike. So you're swinging for 4 and gaining 4 life. You've already gained 5 off Thragtusk. You're also going to swing for 4 from that. So that's 8 life total. On turn 5, they are down to 8. It could be faster if you had Slitherhead, Rancor, and etc. so forth. Strangleroot Geist early, but hey, we're already at 8. We could do a whole lot of damage to them. Alright, next step. Draw. You know, at this point, the best thing here to do is, actually, we can't do Rancor just yet if we do Strangleroot Geist, so I think what we're just going to go ahead and do, put down a Rancor on Thragtusk, swing for game. 7 plus double strike from each of those, 15 damage, turn 6. That's how it works. It's not as fast as it could be. Pretty fast, though. I'd show another game, but I don't want to take up all your time while you're watching this for the deck tech and how it works. That's how it works. Optimal is having Strangleroot Geist, Farseek, or actually not even Strangleroot Geist, Farseek, Slitherhead, Rancor, Nighthawk, 3 land. That one of them being a source of green. So that's the ideal thing. Probably want to have shock land first, and then a couple non-shock dual lands. But that's how you play this one. Thanks, and if you want the full deck list, be sure to check it out at mondaymorningmtg.com and subscribe for more videos.